You said sorry before you even spoke. You made yourself invisible so nobody would have to deal with you. You never asked for help, not because you didn't need it, but because you genuinely believed that needing things made you a problem. If any part of that felt familiar, stay right here, because what psychology discovered about you will change everything. Today we are uncovering the deep psychological truth behind people who grew up feeling like a burden, and the science behind it is both heartbreaking and deeply healing. Where this feeling comes from, Dr. Gabor Mate, world-renowned physician and trauma expert, spent decades studying childhood emotional wounds. He found that children do not think their parents are wrong. They think they themselves are wrong. When a child's needs are met with frustration, silence, or absence, that child does not conclude that the parent is failing them. They conclude, I am too much. I am the problem. I am the burden. And that single conclusion, formed before the age of 7, quietly shapes every relationship, every decision, and every moment of self-worth for the rest of their life. How it shows up in adult life. Psychologist Dr. Susan Forward, author of Toxic Parents, found that adults who felt like burdens as children develop a very specific pattern. They over-apologize. They over-explain. They give too much in relationships while secretly expecting to be abandoned anyway. They say yes when they mean no. They shrink in rooms where they deserve to take up space. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once wrote, "The most painful state of being is remembering who you could have been." People who grew up feeling like burdens spend their entire adult lives mourning a version of themselves that was never given permission to exist. What it does to the brain, neuroscientist Dr. Martin Teicher at Harvard University discovered that childhood emotional neglect, being made to feel like a burden, physically changes the developing brain. The areas responsible for self-worth, emotional regulation, and trust are literally shaped differently in people who grew up this way. This means the feeling of being a burden is not a character flaw. It is not weakness. It is a neurological imprint, written into the brain by experiences the child had absolutely no control over. What these people are really like inside here is what most people never see. People who grew up feeling like burdens are often the most deeply empathetic human beings alive, because they spent their entire childhood reading the emotional temperature of every room. Just to survive. They notice when you are sad before you say a word. They remember small details about people they love. They will carry your pain without ever asking you to carry theirs. Dr. Brené Brown of the University of Houston says, owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing we will ever do. These people are not burdens. They never were. They were just children who deserve so much more than they were given. The truth you need to hear today. If you grew up feeling like a burden, hear these words clearly and completely. Your needs were never too much. Your feelings were never too loud. Your presence was never too heavy. You were a child who needed love, and the adults around you were simply too empty to give it. That was never, not even for a single moment, your fault. You are not a burden. You are not too much. You are someone who carried the weight of other people's limitations and called it your own failure, and that ends today. If this reached something deep inside you, subscribe right now, because on this channel, we do not just talk about psychology, we heal through it. See you in the next one.